I haven't seen that movie for a while, and I don't think you have. It's a phenomenal film, and it's a kind of hymn to Swansea, but it's got much more than that. So we're incredibly fortunate to have Kevin and Rhys, Di. We're all here. Will, sorry, and Sue, and if any of you want to ask any of these people questions, or if you want to give them compliments, if you want to tell them how
Skip the compliment.
No, if you want to tell
my mum fucking
So, anyone want to ask a question, shout something out, just go ahead. Come on.
It's a brilliant film!
Yes!
Kevin, one thing the fans say, a bit of a disappointment, with the DVD release, was that there wasn't many extras. And because it's such a cult film, I think it would be crying out for a director's commentary. And also the inclusion of the shootout in Swansea programme that you did. But I just wonder if there was any...
I'm so far removed from, the problem is Hologram, who paid for the movie, got bought by Universal. So it's just sitting there at Universal, and I've never bothered about it. I could get into it. I own nothing of the film, which is why I can't be asked. I just got paid my director's fee and my co-writer's fee. Well, I got paid my writer's fee and director's fee. A third of my writer's fee I paid to my co-writer. Who should have been here tonight, by the way, but he just had a very serious operation and he's recovering. Best wishes to him. He would have been here tonight.
Yeah, let's also have prayer.
So, yeah, absolutely. It was my first movie. I had no action on the back end, and that's just the way it is. I've not made a beam. Universal own it. If someone wanted to, from a producer point of view, to put that package together, I could be fine. Just let the film be.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, thank you. Got this fab. I've seen it for years and I really, really loved it. I teach lots of teenage boys, and every summer they go on holiday and they come back to school and they've seen the film and they love it and they quote it to me to death. And I just thought you should know that it's got its own life, and what's brilliant about it is that there wasn't anything from Swansea when we were growing up, really, that we could own, and we feel like we were all part of it because I recognised it. My mum had those horrible curtains, I really shell suits. So cheers.
I've got a notion that the garage should show this movie once a month. We should all come in costume, pick our favourite character, come, and we should all recite the script. Once a month they should show Twin Town here, because it's our film.
Jeff said this earlier, but I disagree, because I'd rather write Twin Town than music. No, and we are thinking about it.
Sing a song.
I'd like to see a night where
fucking
every time a clerk is taken, the audience do the same.
So we have thought about it. We have thought about it. Because, I was commissioned to write a sequel, and I wrote a first draft. I got into the second draft, and I still owe them money for the commission because I just pulled out. It didn't feel right, emotionally, everything. But Twin Town the musical does feel. We'll think of it as a sort of alternative to Christmas at the Millennium Hall. The stags.
What was on, I love you, but you don't fucking live.
Oh, God. I've got quite busy.
I just want to say that it's summed up Wales better than any other film I've ever seen. And that includes How Green Was My Love.
It wasn't meant to. It wasn't meant to.
But in a way it did. It summed up, well, not the whole of Wales, but a certain part of Wales, South Wales, this area, Neath, Talbot, Swansea, Llanelli. And I mean, 2 years ago there were rumours about another one being made. I mean, perhaps it's only a one-off. Is there any chance of anything being made again?
No. My, having seen this tonight and just having got back into filmmaking after farming for about 5 years. My real ambition, my next step, would, for what you just saw, it's just fantastic to see it after all these years, and you just gather stuff that you gathered about it. But I'd really like to do something bilingual in another part of Wales, but with the essence of what that film is. I'd like to appropriate what we did with this film bilingually. That's what I would like to do. Somewhere like Uplands. I'd like to. Anyway, that's another story. That's what I'd like to do.
You just made a film.
No, but no. I mean a really bilingual film in reality, in a place that really is the gateway between, post-industrial South Wales and rural nationalists, speaking Wales, and Ammanford. Places like this are not. I just think there are places where we can build on what we've done.
I want to add to what you said, about it representing Wales or whatever. I don't know if it does that, but what it certainly did, and I remember a time, I was very young at the time, but I was younger.
They look so young. You look as clear, your brother.
Yeah.
Like,
But Will might remember this. There was like a crisis conference held at the BBC in Llandaf about how we are, where is our cultural footprint as a nation, and pretty much there was Undermilkwood and then fuck all else. And I don't remember what I said. Was it, where's our train spotting? Where's our where's this new voice that represents a part of Wales, or and then mystically, and lo and behold, it happened in this film.
But it's based on a story that was set in Glasgow.
Yeah,
a documentary I made about miscarriage of justice and mass murder and revenge. The theme of revenge. And at one point I was going to set this in Southampton or maybe Bristol. I felt it's ridiculous not to set it in my hometown, or where I spent the best part of my life. So it's that, I think it's a universal story. It's it's weird, on the global junket that we did on this film years ago. It was strange that it was the Russians the Russian press who spent more time than when I was in this film. They saw it as a political thing. They saw it, and it was.
Can you say more about that? How?
Not really. It's just it came from a miscarriage of justice documentary from the BBC that I spent a lot of time in Barley prison, and 5 people did get murdered, and the 2 guys who committed the murder, didn't get caught. 2 other guys were fitted up. The documentary just went nowhere. It wasn't a very good documentary, and it's just I thought, well, it's useless. Why not try and shroud it in comedy? And that's what I'm most proud of about this film, is that it spends half the time reeling you in through comedy and then gets the fucking paper out of it. And I'm proud of that, I really am. And I got, a lot of the press kind of really had a go at me for this bullshit Robert McKee fucking Sid Field shite about having to like all the characters. It's not about liking characters, it's about having characters that are truthful. As long as they're truthful. And they are truthful. They are truthful through the relationship between me and Paul Dirk, and the relationship I had with a certain side of that fence in Swansea as a kid, growing up with the Malcolm Strauss, all those people from my mother running a restaurant. I was privy to that, that bullshit side of Swansea that was brought down by Ian Bone.
Right.
And Paul had another portal to Swansea. I use Paul as a kind of anecdotal sounding board. It's a great relationship.
Why don't you tell us what your memories of the film are, and then you tell us yours? Because I was at the bar, and somebody said to me, "It's your film." I mean, every performance in that film is fantastic. You know.
Yeah, but this relationship.
No.
I mean, I know this. I mean, it's what I just what we talked about.
No.
I saw this couple
No.
through my teenagehood. You know, I really did see this couple.
But you know, say something about it. It's an amazing film, and you're fantastic. I'm not bullshitting you.
What did you enjoy about doing it?
And both of you.
It was amazing. It was amazing to see. I don't watch it that often, actually, but I do enjoy it. The more I see it, the more I see in it. You know, I find it an intriguing film in a sense because it's kind of earlier on. You kind of ride along with this kind of comedic wave in a sense, right up until the time the caravan comes up, and suddenly there's this 360 flip, you know, and it becomes absolutely heavy drama after that.
And yet it's caricature in its 360 flip.
Yeah.
And very deliberately caricature. I mean, you know,
But
it was a ridiculous explosion.
But it works.
It's like a caricature.
It's a huge statement to make, you know, it's a big statement to make, but it works, you know.
I want to, when I first saw it, years ago, 45 years ago.
In your embryonic.
Yeah. I remember watching it, you know, and you watch it, I hate watching myself and I hated it, and I remember saying to myself, fucking hell, I hope one day I'm as good as Will Thomas. Tonight, and I'm still.
I mean, there's loads of lines I love. You know, honestly, there's so many lines like, but sums up something. If you're not from here, you know.
My favourite line of the whole film is you.
In an affectionate way.
I've said that to myself on so many occasions.
So, what's your enduring memory of that movie? One of many.
Yes, well,
Possibly my favourite line. Sausage rolls at Welsh joke. Served in the gazebo. I mean, that was my mother. You're all very welcome.
what is fantastic, actually, about the film is that we've had so much mileage out of it because it's a long time ago, but we've never lost contact. Actually, it's really strange because we did the Larn Festival for many years, and where the audience knew every word and they were terrific times. And we've always kind of stuck together with this film because the making of the film, we didn't know. Well, I certainly, I'm sure Will's the same. We didn't know where it was going to go, what was going to happen, and that was the magical of it. It really grew, I think. In everything, because there was no rehearsal time as such, or the characters were put together, but they were written well, so all we had to do was perform them. So it was a great joy to work on it, and there was a good feeling at that time, and it was a great, wonderful, pleasant surprise when it worked. But we weren't that surprised that it did work, because it felt good when we were doing it. It really felt good. But we've had a hell of a lot of mileage out of it. It's been marvellous. We have had fun, and we're still here. And we've worked together. We've worked this summer.
We just worked together with Will and Sue on a movie in Tregarron.
So we're all still going.
You're in the elephant film.
I'm the elephant.
No, you're not the elephant. I said you're in the elephant
I
film.
am in the elephant. Yeah, we both are, yes.
I think watching the film tonight, I've seen it fucking a million times now, but tonight was,
so lovely about watching.
I'm old now, and what I think is genius about the writing and the directing is that there is this constant hi-hat of wit.
Yes.
That goes right the way, if you look at it with as a jazz metaphor, there's this hi-hat of wit, regardless of you know, the narrative arc. There's this wit that keeps you going, and I think that's if to address you. That is. I hope specifically
stitched it together.
You know, there's this optimism
And actually, I
that runs right through it, and I think that keeps it buoyant. You know.
How does it avoid stereotyping? Because
there's a difference between stereotyping and caricature. Stereotyping and caricature are two completely different things. You know, Undermilkwood, for instance, I mean, it's what Dylan Thomas was poorly accused of by the literati, you know, wrongly accused of. That caricature was a sub-genre, and it's just absolute rubbish. Caricature is a genuine art form, and you know, bad caricature is rubbish. But that's what I love about Undermilkwood. It's full of caricature, but it's brilliantly honed. And you know, there's a big difference. That's very different to stereotype, and that what hurt me the most. I didn't give a fuck. I knew we had an audience.
The English stereotype we caricature.
But the retards who got this wrong, you know, when they mentioned the word stereotype, there was, you know, they just got it wrong. In the same way that it killed me that they called this the Welsh train spot. It absolutely killed me. That's the only thing that killed me about the whole journey. That's the thing that I was just most. And at the same time, I had to just accept it because those guys at Main Train Spots, they exec the film, and you know, so I can't. But that's a very big gap between stereotype and caricature. Caricature is valid genre, not to be undermined.
Do you think the world-class wit and world-class swearing really is on the Welsh thing?
No.
Kevin.
Fuck off, I live in Ireland. You know, I live, no. The level of linguistic use of the expletive form in Ireland is as good as here. If not better. To say the Irish, but the Irish, for all I don't like them, you know, they have a
I think
brilliant use of the
I think
words.
the thing about the expletive in this particular film is that it actually adds a rhythm to it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's what I spend most time on.
A connection.
I mean, I used to holiday. You know, I think that expletives are used accordingly, like you said, for rhythm. You know, as a child, I went on holiday to a farm in Pembrokeshire, and I thought every animal and farming implement was called a cunt.
I know what you mean.
Trainers, chickens, gold animals, everything. What a great way to live.
I live in the shadow of a big Georgian country mansion in Ireland, who are my in-laws. I built a much more humble little house in the orchard, not far away. Eco. But my youngest, my 6-year-old, 7-year-old daughter, just got banned from the big house. She called them all a bunch of cunts. But only not for me. She'd heard it at school. Not for me. She called them all a bunch of, because they had guests. It's a blue book country house. That's serious guests. And it all fucking went off, and she's been banned. And that came from school. No, I know, but you know what I'm saying. You know what we're talking about here is this whole idea that expletive language is, you know, it's so fucking out there in schools, and it's very pervasive.
I see it as the vocalization of punctuation.
Absolutely, it is. You're right. Used badly, it's shit.
It's a fucker.
You know.
There's a guy desperate to ask a question.
It's not a question, I just want to compliment every single one of you. From Kevin, yourself, the director, from all the cast, the crew, every single person involved. I just feel like you all deserve to be given the gratitude you should be given, as in, you've really done justice to a film, as in the script, the score, everything was done perfectly.
Do you know what? I've got to say, after not seeing this for such a long time, I'm the one constant in my career has been my composer, Mark. And you know, I'm so chuffed at having worked with a guy from Pen Cloud who was the lead fiddler. Excuse me. In the West Glamorgan County Youth Orchestra when I was in West Side Story, the West Glamorgan Youth Orchestra, age 14, and to have made this journey together, and and we worked very closely together. I think
Let's give him
I really tonight the score in there that's doing stuff. Really. And that's the Royal Philharmonic, by the way.
And Kevin, also as a little side note, you need to email Tom Cruise as well. Because if you look, I don't know if you noticed or not, but...
I wouldn't email Tom Cruise.
Well, you need to,
fucking years.
Well, in an interview he's got, one of his movies, whatever, he refers to Twin Towers as the Scottish film. So it really needs to be followed.
That's Scientology for you. Fucking outer space.
Like John Travolta's so cool.
It's like the one in.
My mum was teaching many years of childbirth, and she talked to it. When she saw the film, I mean, she was kind of like, oh, by the language.
We all know the twins.
Yeah, absolutely. But everybody in that film became pregnant. I don't think it could be set anywhere else.
But it could have. It could have quite easily. I spent a lot of time in Bristol in my early 20s. A lot of mates in Bristol, which was an amazing outcome stuff. Could easily have said it would be just would have been home. It's a universal story. It was just the detail that became Swansea. Yeah, especially. I want to do something. You want to especially with extra vowels.
Somebody needs to do something.
No, we're doing something.
You create a blackboard.
Yeah, we do meow meow.
No, we're developing a series set in Swansea called Scarlet Town. Or Scarlet Town. Yeah.
Are you really doing something?
No, we're developing a series set in. And actually, it's got to be done. Places like Ammanford have to be done. Bryn Ammon. It's time to cut the crap. What's going on with S4C, BBC, etc. There are stories out there that can be bilingual, and I don't mean just English and Welsh. Pakistan, I mean the fucking lot, Chinese. This is a melting pot, and it's the only way we're going to find our culture, because there is a culture here. It's predominantly Welsh, of course it is, but unless the bilingual thing is, addressed in a grown-up way, it's. And I would love to make films.
We need some truth about this part of the world.
Yes, the capital chain.
I think, sorry Kev, so I'm going to publicly arse-lick this man. I mean, within reason, right? But if you think, okay, Twin Town was done 13, 14,
16
years ago, right? And there's a room full of people here, and what's essential to give to ennoble a community or a society or a nation, or what is when a story is told about us, and that's really simple, and that's what Kevin's done so eloquently and so diligently, and is continuing to do that, and we should be really, really fucking proud, that we have, a filmmaker like this that's from here, and we'll do it for fucking capture.
Were there many moments
the film that were improvised dialogue or
No.
things that just came?
No, the only improvised part of the film is the Petula Clark Kingsway sequence. That was, I'm looking at it tonight, it was the biggest flaw.
Really?
No, not that sequence. The Baron's nightclub. Anything, all the character scenes with actors, I felt good about. Whenever you go into multiples of people, it needs a lot of control. That just costs a little more money and time. And I look at that because I'm cutting a film at the moment, so it's the same kind of problem. You know, making a film set in 1848 with money, and it's really hard. You just need that extra money and time. It's time. It does cost money just to broaden out your lens. As soon as you widen your lens and have more people in, it's really difficult to sustain, you know, what you're doing with smaller scenes. No paraphrasing will ever be allowed in anything I do. No, it's true. I mean, I love improvised work. That's a different. I'd love, you know, my second film. I wanted to be an improvised film about a pantomime in Notting Hill with Rhys. Actually, was going to be in it.
Oh no, I wasn't.
But I wanted that to be improvised and then honed. But then when you shoot, there's no paraphrasing. I can't bear. I'll never allow paraphrasing of any kind. You set the language. You set the language, and the rhythms and the punctuation have to be spot on.
And I think that's why it's been told.
Ask them how I'm a Nazi, but it's rhythms. And I just directed a film in Welsh, by the way, which was a very liberating, brilliant experience. And having been obsessed with dialogue and emphasis, it's amazing to direct a film in a language I know well. I'm not. Oh, do you think of I mean, you know, it was so liberating to allow the music. It's more about the music and the poetry of sound, you know, with performance. But it has to be set. You can't. I'll never allow anyone to.
It is actually an art, because what Kevin said is absolutely true. It's all scripted. It was all scripted to it, and we stuck to it. But it is an art that actually sometimes the audience thinks that it's so natural that it can be, and that is actually quite sad.
The rhythm of the script is...
But the honing...
Yes, because if you don't get the graph, if you don't get the pattern right, it doesn't work.
You can't just say it.
You have to actually stick to it completely, because otherwise everybody's rhythm is out of sync.
I'm going to sound like an implement in my uncle's farm. I just worked with a great director, Peter Bogdanovich, who did the last picture show. He said exactly the same thing. He said he sets up the tape, sets the camera, and then he sits by the monitor and he shuts his eyes.
Yeah.
And he said, if it sounds good,
it's
I'm
good.
printing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
So
it's
you
true.
listen.
It's absolutely true.
You listen.
I never even referred to my English script on what I just did.
He listens to the scene, and if it sounds good, he prints it.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
How long did it take you to make the film?
5 weeks to film. Yeah. Well, I just did one in 4. With 2 fucking elephants. You think 5? I just did one in 4. I learned sustainable filmmaking through farming pigs. You can laugh, but I moved from Hollywood to Ireland, became a farmer, and I learned the art of the field, which is a very underestimated art form, the art of the field. You breed the stock, you bring the stock on, you sell them at the right time, you feed them the right feed, you sell them for the right
What are you most proud of?
all I want to do. All I want to do. I don't give a fuck about money.
What are you most proud of, your pigs or your films?
I think I sold my fucking pig. I gave up pigs to come back to films.
Right.
the proudest moment of my entire life, one of them was carving my first honestly, that I had bred, and a farmer coming up to me and me putting that fork in that roll with my wife's relish on and saying it's the best thing he'd ever eaten in his fucking life. One of the proudest. And that film is one of the things I'm most
absolutely. Yeah, film first.
And I'm deeply proud of the film I just made, which is Kev 16 years later with 4 kids who are in it. But what I just did was just one of those enjoyable, joyous, wonderful experiences I've ever had filmmaking in Trinidad. And you're going to fucking love it. It's deeply moving, and it's got Welsh language. It's going to be on S4C, I think, on Boxing Day. It's got Welsh, Nigerian, Irish.
What's it called?
It's out on general release here on the 30th. I'm so proud.
What's it called? What is it called?
A circus. Roughly translated means a circus. Well, I'm so, and I've just worked with SVC, and I've had such a wonderful time, just working the way it should be, and we had a great 4 weeks. With elephants. It's just gorgeous.
Why is it called Twin Town? I know there's a twin.
We wanted Pretty Shitty City, and Polygram wouldn't allow it. And then we did a competition on set. But there were, I remember Sarah Cherry, and people like the makeup, so what about the great big explosion? I mean, you want to read. Oh, terrible tiny
Thank you.
Anyway, we should get on and just leave with one little announcement.
Last night, and some of you might be here, last night we showed this peculiar film, I think. We had Andrew Sinclair here, who is like the opposite end of the scale to Kevin, in all sorts of ways. But last night we showed Undermilkwood here. And Andrew Sinclair's Undermilkwood, Burton, Taylor and O'Toole. A bizarre film, but we showed it and Andrew was here. And tonight we showed Twin Town. Is that kind of like a contemporary Undermilkwood? So what's the deal?
Well, I don't know that contemporary Undermilkwood. It's never
You're not allowed to smoke in your but I think we can now. We'll leave it in a minute.
Basically, what we would like to announce tonight is I've spent a year negotiating a very, very fragile ecology of an estate, which is Undermilkwood, because it's something no one's going into, which is why it hasn't been made for 45 years as a feature film. And it's been very difficult, but I can announce tonight that between Rhys and myself and a fantastic, talented writer, poet, Murray Lackland Young, and a metaphysics guru, there's 4 of us leading the way with the screenplay development. We're negotiating, finalising negotiations, commercial negotiations with the Undermilkwood Trust. We're going to be making Undermilkwood next year in English and in Welsh.
We now know all the parts.
They're joking, but they're not far off. Because I want to do it with a very small cast. I think something like Undermilkwood is very difficult. It's not a classic 3-act structure narrative. It's a poem. It's a dream. It's a nightmare. It's whatever. It's like
for voices.
Well, it was written for voices. Yeah. So it's not a natural film. But I think the only way really we can do is with a smaller cast with people doubling up. So I think a cast of thousands, just a film ends up being as strong as its weakest link. And what happens with Undermilkwood, I'm afraid, is that it seems to give thespians a license to go, this is fucking Welsh cake. No, it's true. It's true. It's chickeny wretch. And it's just not, it's so much deeper than that. It's just an amazing, dark piece of work. And we're going to take the music very seriously. Mark will be involved again with the camera work. And we're going to hark back to the analogue techniques of Tchaikovsky and Buñuel, who for the times would have been connected with. Would be an analogue film. We've got a metaphysics guru to keep us in check. Because it is a dystopian nightmare dream story. Whatever. And it's going to be fucking
It is that. Well, on that bombshell, thank you, Rhys.